The wonders of life got the prettiest side for everyone to enjoy. Standing up close by the Christmas tree, glimmering light, I am right where I wanna be. I will be home for a couple of days, wander around with you. You and me in the cold, thought it'd never be true. Wherever I go, I got you. Oh, I have stopped running, there is no way trying. You better loosen your belt. Drinking hot wine by the fire, don't care of anything else. It's Christmas.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 25 Days of Christmas, an Advent podcast where we watch one Christmas movie or special every day until Christmas. I'm Patricia, and I'm here with my sister Carlene.
Hello everyone.
So today we're going to be talking about not a Netflix movie, thank goodness we finally broke the chain away from that, and we're not talking about a recent Christmas movie either. We're talking about a movie that came out almost 20 years ago, premiering in 2003. It is the comedy film Elf, starring Will Ferrell. The plot is that it's about an orphan baby by the name of Buddy, who crawled into Santa's sack, eventually going into his workshop, and he eventually was raised by elves. He then learns the truth about him, that his parents met when they were in school, and after they broke up, the woman became pregnant with him, and she had given him up for adoption, and so he needs to find his father, whose name is Mr. Hobbs, and he just so happens to be this really mean-spirited jerk who is... I don't know, what is he like? A person who kind of like sees like books that are possibly being published or something? I don't know. But basically he tries to connect with his father. His father wants absolutely nothing to do with him because he's just so overly enthusiastic in New York City, which just so happens to be super jaded. And he's trying to figure out who exactly he is. He's not an elf, but he feels that he's not a human. And so there's this whole thing about like connection with family and Christmas spirit and finding love. So this movie has become a bit of a Christmas classic. It's become one of the movies that people tune into just as much as Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Carol. And then there's some people who say that it's a little bit too annoying, a little bit too over the top, especially with the performance with Will Ferrell as Buddy. So, yeah, let's give our personal thoughts into it. So, Carlene, what did you think of Elf?
It's hard to answer that question posed that way, but to me, my takeaway is I enjoy the movie. And I think, like all things, it has some parts that I really enjoyed and some parts that maybe weren't my favorite, but overall, I do like it. I can see how maybe some people can be a little bit annoyed. At some moments, it is over the top, but that just speaks into, like, the comedy of Will Ferrell. That's kind of his style, his stylistic approach to comedy. And I personally enjoy it. You know, I think that Christmas movies can take different forms. Some can be more serious, some can be more heartfelt. Like the one we saw, Klaus, can be something that's like overall like a beautiful storytelling. And some can just be funny and silly and goofy. And I think Elf plays that role. It's a very silly and funny movie. I see it also has like some themes that are very deep and important. You mentioned them, right? This is the story of a lost child who's raised in a environment where his strengths and his originality, him being human, they're not welcomed or not. There's no space for him there, literally and figuratively. There's no space for him where the elves are. And when he ventures out to find his family and where he belongs in the world, you know, he has some rude awakening. But I think it's just funny and it's a nice story. And one thing I kind of like about it is like when we sit down to watch it as a family, our family's laughing and they're enjoying it, and that just feels good, you know?
It does, yeah. It does feel good. There's a lot of like really weird moments, but at the same time they're very humorous. Mm-hmm. Like Buddy's just overconsumption of candy.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. There has to be like, if that really is anything truth to elves, they must have some type of like they must be diabetic resistant because you cannot have like the 5 main food groups be all sugar and
Yeah, exactly. What was it, like candy canes, candy corn, and syrup?
yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, especially that one scene in which he's just like pouring syrup
I can't
and
even
spaghetti.
watch that scene. That's so gross.
It is really gross. It's wild. And you know, there's some other really like funny scenes where he's trying to impress the girl who works at the store, Jovie. And he's just really, really awkward at first. Like this parts in which he was actually in the woman's bathroom while she's singing.
I love that scene though. I mean, if you think about it, like technically it's horrendous.
Yeah.
But I just love. It's just he's so innocent, and so his character is not only naive, but he's an innocent being. You know, he's not only has he not experienced anything really in life, but in the environment that he grew up, it's just about like. It's just pure innocence. It's like the viewpoint of a child, you know, like he never grew up past that age.
Exactly, yeah.
And so like to him, things that seem, you know, right are
like very wrong.
Can be very wrong.
Like in any normal circumstance, that scene where he's actually at the woman's bathroom while Jovie is washing her hair and singing
and taking a shower,
singing "Baby It's Cold Outside" while he's singing along with her could be kind of creepy.
Super creepy.
But in the context, it's actually very endearing because earlier in the scene, she was talking about how I don't sing, and then he says, "What elves sing while they work?" And then we hear her sing, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah, and we know Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah, Zooey Deschanel.
She has a beautiful voice.
She does,
it's
yeah.
nice to hear it. One thing to mention about her is, like, I don't know if she's a natural blonde, but she's so much better. She looks, in my opinion, so much prettier as a brunette, and the bangs. Like, when she did New Girl, and, you know, quite a few other things she's watched, or been in, but I love her in New Girl.
Yeah.
Beautiful, you know what I mean? Like, in the blonde, she looks so different. She looks like 2 different people.
Yeah, she does, actually. It's just kind of surreal seeing her when we're more accustomed to her being a brunette.
Yeah.
And another thing that we have to say in terms of the movie is that it actually does a pretty good job with highlighting the jadedness of New York City. And I can understand that because, I mean, this came out in 2003, so this would have been post 9/11, where people were just, like, really jaded about everything. There was a war going on, and, you know, the World Trade Center was attacked a few years prior, and, you know, even into the whole realism thing, where people see somebody like Buddy and they just don't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
It actually captures perfectly, especially toward the end, when there's absolutely no Christmas spirit once Santa arrives in his sleigh, where it's literally powered through Christmas spirit, and there's just literally none left.
I think the genius of the movie for me is all like the comedic moments, like when he just shows not only how naive he is, but how endearing he is. Like you're saying, like he makes a to-do list with him and his dad, and on that to-do list is like making snow angels and snuggling.
Yes.
And, you know what I mean? And he wants to be tucked in and at night, and he wants to tickle his dad and hold hands, and it's just like all of those moments are just hilarious. And like, forgive me, you're gonna correct me because I don't know, but the character who plays his father, it's on the opposite spectrum, on the opposite end.
Yeah.
And he's hilarious in that role. Like, he looks like a grumpy old man.
Yes.
And his timing, him and Will Ferrell's, like, bouncing back off of each other, I think is genius.
Yeah,
know?
it is.
You have one person that totally embodies, like, a grouch. And then you have, on the other end, someone who can make you believe that they are a 30-year-old, like, man-child raised by elves. Like, I can believe it.
Right.
And, you know, like, he's running around New York, like you're saying, like, just doing the funniest, craziest things.
Yeah. James Caan does a really good job in embodying that Scrooge, I will say. Just somebody who's this workaholic who cares nothing more than to just make money.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, you know what I mean? It's just, maybe he's also depicting, like, an average guy who needs to work for his, you know, for his family's, to support his family, and somewhere along the way it became more about work than the time he spends with his family. And Buddy kind of comes, and not only does he, like, have the ability to find out who he is and reconnect with his family, But he brings life back into this family.
He does. He brings back to not only the dad, and he also brings back to his half-brother Michael, who is pretty much just like this really sad kid.
Yeah, very lonely kid. You know?
Yeah, he's a very lonely kid who has little to no friends. He doesn't have any time with his parents because they both work. And so he's mostly alone. And so then you have somebody like Buddy come along and they throw snowballs and they hang out with each other. Michael even helps him to ask Jovie out on a date.
I love that scene. I also love the scene where they're building like the Christmas tree and like, you know, he committed a felony. Like he's in New York for I don't know how many days, and in that time he finds a job, he loses a job, he gets into I don't know how many fights, he ends up in jail. Like he just does so many funny things in that short span of time.
Yeah.
And one of the things is he cuts down, you know, a tree from the Central Park, which you do not do. It's a felony.
Yes, it is.
And then he's decorating this massive tree that they lug in. And I don't know, it's just a lot of like little moments that make it really enjoyable. I also think it's kind of funny too, like whenever he's first leaving the North Pole and he steps outside into the North Pole from like the Christmas specials. Like that
the Rudolph special.
Right, like he steps into that animation style.
Yes, it is stop motion, very akin to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He sees the same reindeer who was the narrator from the Rudolph special.
Not reindeer.
The snowman. Snowman, I meant to say. Yeah, it's the same snowman from the Rudolph special. And there are even like some little animals, such as there's a seal and there's a penguin, there's a narwhal.
Like the characters that you would see in these specials, he steps into that North Pole.
Yeah.
And I liked that element to it. There's just a lot, I think, of moments that are very enjoyable and funny. Of course, like, you know, he's a comedian, and he's like, was he ever on SNL?
Yes, he was. This was his first movie after he was done with SNL.
So he has like this over-the-top kind of comedy.
Yes.
And so like, it's a style you may like or you may not like. So I can see how maybe it can be a little bit much for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I enjoy his silliness.
It's kind of funny because I was looking up some interesting information about this movie, and the movie was originally planned around the 90s, and they were going to have people such as Chris Farley or Jim Carrey be Buddy. And I was like, you know, I can definitely see that. That same kind of...
He has that kind of energy, that over-the-top kind of comedy.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah.
And very, juvenile, like, just very, like, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have, like, a serious or, like, you know, a witty kind of comedy. He has, like, the slap knee, slapstick? I don't know.
Slapstick, yes.
Yeah, kind of comedy, you know what I mean? And it's, you know, not everybody's cup of tea, but I like it.
Yeah.
I've seen him in a lot of movies, and I've enjoyed him. I've seen him in some movies where he plays a serious character as well. And he's a good actor.
Yes, he is. He's very similar to Adam Sandler, in which he can be really goofy, but when he needs to be serious, he's serious.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what are the things that we don't like about this movie?
Good question.
I think that some of the jokes can be hit and miss.
Okay.
I think that there's some jokes in which, like, okay, I can see where they were going with this, but I don't think it just, like, hit it.
I hear it. To me, I think that it's just a lot of elements, like with the humor, it is a little bit a lot. So it's something that maybe might detour you from, like, adding this movie to your roster or something you can watch very often. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that it caters to, like, people who can be able to appreciate that kind of humor.
Yeah, I think that would probably be my only... I mean, there's obviously little elements here and there that they don't make it to be my favorite movie, but not enough for me to have a criticism on, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only thing I could probably think of more, like, on a bigger scale to criticize might just be that it might not be your style of comedy.
Exactly.
And so you may not enjoy that. But overall, like, all the other little pieces that are not my favorite aren't really enough to discredit this movie.
Exactly, yeah. And not for me either.
I think it's still a really good movie.
Yeah, I really enjoy it, and I can see why it became a massive hit when it first came out. And it's had a Broadway stage musical. It's had an animated 2D and special that came out on NBC. It's still a major Christmas staple in multiple countries. Even Erin told me that it's like one of the Christmas specials that people tune into every year.
Yeah, I think maybe the one or two scenes that I didn't love what I think it was also a little bit long was when Santa's in Central Park and they're trying to get like the sleigh working and there's cops and people with the news station. That probably was one of my least favorite scenes.
Okay.
But everything else I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, so how should we rank this in terms of viewing? Every year, every few years, or once and never again?
I think you can get away with watching it every year. I think it's a movie you can get away with watching during the Christmas season. I think that this is a movie because if you do it like us, like in the sense that come Thanksgiving, you start having the itch for Christmas and you have over a month to kind of watch movies and get in that spirit, then you have plenty of time to throw it in there and feel good. If you're going to like choose 1 or 2 or maybe 3 movies for the Christmas holiday, it might not make it to that list because there are other movies that are probably higher ranked.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that if your Christmas season is a little bit longer, then for sure it's something you can watch every year. You can make space for it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it wouldn't be my top.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my top either. I would say that if I were to put down a list of like all the movies I was going to be watching, I would probably like leave it like towards like the back half.
Yeah, I would say so too. And that's why since we have the time, we can throw it in and enjoy it and not feel like, man, I really have to just, create this list that has to be perfect. So
exactly.
I would say you can get away with enjoying it once a year.
Yeah, for sure. All right, ratings. How many Santas?
That one's a little bit tricky for me. I think I'm going to go, and mind you, it's out of 5. So like, anything above a certain number is still pretty good percentage-wise.
Oh, yeah.
I think I would probably give it like 3 or 3.5.
I'll give it 3.5.
Yeah, I'm somewhere between 3 and 3.5 Santas.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's enjoyable. It's middle of the road for sure.
Yeah.
But it also has that light humor if you guys want to sit and laugh a little bit about silly things this guy does.
Yeah, and I also think that it does capture a bit of the Christmas spirit as well.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
All
I
right.
love when he decorates, like, pigs makes paper mache and, like, how excited he is. Santa's coming! Like, how excited he gets. And, like, those 2 scenes, one where he decorates his family's home and one when he decorates the entire store, like, the floor of the Christmas workshop.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is really nice. Like, he has, like,
awesome.
the Lego set and
there's lights and trees and fake snow. And
he does the Etch-a-Sketch of Mona Lisa.
Mm-hmm. So I think that, like, Christmas theme you're going to enjoy if you're looking for something Christmassy.
Absolutely. All right, so that is it for our discussion of Elf. Let us know in the comments below about if you enjoyed Elf. Would you watch it every year, every few years, or once and never again? How many Santas would you rate it?
And also, we're curious to see if you found it to be funny, over the top funny, or like you enjoy Will Ferrell's type of humor.
Or if you didn't, then let us know that as well.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see if some of your listeners have some recommendations for us, any movies they think that we should try and see and watch, or maybe have on our radar.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you have any movies or specials that you want us to tune into, then please let us know in the comments as well. I'm genuinely curious to see if any of the specials or movies that we'll be watching matches with what they want us to watch. Mm-hmm. All right, so until then, we will see you later.
Bye, guys.
Gaze upon the sky, Christmas on my mind, somewhere from a place up high above. There's a song of love traveling afar, seeking us to